Jogi Löw suggested as a replacement for Arsene Wenger if he goes in the summer. Anything on this?
I think that this is a name that Arsenal are throwing about. I think Jogi Löw doesn't mind having his name linked. I'd be very surprised if it is something that he would want to do, to go and move back into club management after what, 14 years.
Wow.
In the Germany setup. It's a completely different situation for him. If he wants to test and challenge himself, fine, and get a big payday as well. But my understanding is that he is somebody that Arsenal would consider more so than this being something that Löw is actively pursuing.
Would you touch this if you're Jogi Löw?
Well, it needs a big overhaul.
Yeah, it's a massive job.
And he's not a stupid guy. He'll look at what City are doing, what Liverpool are doing, what Man United are going to spend, what might happen at Chelsea, and think, I don't want to be the best of the rest again, so I don't think so.
It's still a big job, though, isn't it? Arsenal it still has its allure.
It's a fantastic job, but the thing for me is if Jogi Löw decides to walk away from international management, I think there'll be a number of clubs vying for his signature. Now, whether Arsenal are prepared to match what others can and offer him the purse to refurbish as much as Arsenal need to do to compete with the big English clubs, again, I'm not so sure. So it makes sense for Arsenal right now. I'm not so sure it makes so much sense for Jogi Löw.
But that's a big if, right? If Jogi Löw decides that, you know what, I'm done with international football. Because here's the thing. When you go into club coaching, that's a grind. That's a daily thing. The national team coach it's not so much of a grind. Right?
Especially when you win World Cup.
No, everything is good, and you have players and you have talent available, and then you just go and search and pick the players that you want in your team. It's not quite the same in club coaching, and do you really want to get yourself involved in that after you've had so much success with the national team? Do you really want to go back into a grind with an Arsenal team that you're going to have to rebuild? No thanks.
So we've heard, like in the past, for example, someone like Eddie Howe linked to the job. Is that someone that kind of more fits for you?
Not for me. He's done a great job at Bournemouth, but not for me. I don't know. I think it's difficult to pinpoint the man out there that's going to restructure this football club, because he's been there so long, and I think there are a number of issues that has to be solved.
Obviously, we could have the discussion, could Manchester City win it all? And I think everyone agreed that they've certainly shown us that they can. What would stop them winning it?
I'm not sure they're favourites. I mean, arguably, now that PSG are out, you could say they're possibly the most attractive playing side left in the tournament, because Barca have certainly been more pragmatic than previous years. We know Real Madrid have had issues, but still clambered to beating PSG. But I still think there's, Bayern Munich, they could give them a game. I mean, I just think to say they're favourites now, because we know they've got some fragilities at the back.
Is that their main issue, do you think?
Yes.
Defensively?
Yeah, I think if they have... You have a bad period. The Spurs have shown it. You have a bad 10, 15, 20 minutes over a couple of legs in this tournament against the big boys, you're gone. You're gone. So if they have a bad day, they could be out. So they're looking good, but a lot of water to go under the bridge before they pick this trophy up.
Gab, where do you stand on Manchester City and their chances?
Well, you know what? I actually thought this game showed us a thing or two that I think qualitatively, once you go and you turn to your second string, even against, and look, there's some context on this Basel team. Obviously, they knew they were out. They're 6 points behind the top in Switzerland. They want to try to make up the difference. It's not as if they were super motivated for this. But then you saw some of these individuals who I think still have a long way to go. Zinchenko was terrible. Stones really had a rough time, as did Laporte. As Craig points out, you wonder, a couple injuries, a couple absences, and maybe it's not that simple to just kind of slot in off the bench into this group. If Leroy Sané keeps playing the way he's been playing, then obviously you're in with a shot against anybody, and Ederson and De Bruyne regains his mojo and all this other stuff. But yeah, I think defensively, I think there's some issues when they don't have the right mix.
Look, the thing is, for me, you've seen City in seasons gone by kind of limp further than this in the competition. Yes, they've been better defensively,
It's
but
a different team, though.
and that's my point. Just as we were talking about Juventus and Spurs, as good as they are, there are other very good teams still in this Champions League who've shown that they can be exciting all the way through, that they can get the job done. And maybe that inexperience is what ends up costing City.
I refuse to judge Manchester City based on this performance against Basel. So whatever Zinchenko does in this game bears no importance to me as to what Manchester City is going to do in this competition. Phil Foden is not going to be playing in the key moments of this competition, and so Claudio Bravo will not be in goal.
Sure.
And you can bring up more and more names as to who would be involved and who wouldn't. So the truth is that Manchester City is right there in the conversation, and that's exactly where you want to be. If you're considered to be favored in this competition, it's because you're doing a lot of good things, and Manchester City is doing a lot of good things. However, they like the way that they like to play, where it's open, where it's entertaining, where they're committing numbers forward, that leaves them exposed. Now, it's one thing to leave yourself exposed against Stoke City, and it's totally something different to leave yourself exposed against Bayern Munich or Barcelona or Real Madrid or whoever it may be. So in that sense, I think Manchester City has to be very careful about the balance of the group.
There's lots of reasons to be optimistic for City.
Sure, yeah, and then we could have sat here and we could have done that easily.
Of course there is. But I think the biggest warning for them was the PSG result. The PSG, you know, Real Madrid there for the taking. They're a wounded animal. They're miles off the lead in La Liga. They've had so many issues this season, and they get the job done. Juventus, up against it with Spurs, not playing great, get the job done. There's more to it than playing silky football, and that's the big warning sign for Man City. Have Spurs just been Spurs, or have Juve been?
Have they both been each other?
I think there's an argument to say that. The second goal, which ultimately killed it, you know, Higuain drops off. Sanchez, the centre-half, goes in with him. He lets Higuain get turned because he gets wrong side. And then Davis puts the hand up. I think Trippier puts the hand up for offside. Dybala gets in. Good night and God bless. You can't make those mistakes in a split second. Just after the hour mark, 2 or 3 minutes, you switch off a couple of times. Against quality like this, you get punished. You switch off in Turin, you're 2-0 down before you know it. You get all the plaudits for coming back, doesn't matter. You're shooting yourself in the foot. I was sitting thinking, right, we're going to be talking about a team that's 20 points off the lead in the Premier League, completely outplaying Juventus over 160 minutes or thereabouts. And they're out. But that's Spurs, and they are going to have to learn, and learn fast.
You do the maths there, that's only 20 minutes, really, in which Juventus put in the performance over the 2 legs, but that's all they need.
And that's all they need. And that's the thing with these big European clubs who have experience in this competition. As we were saying yesterday about Real Madrid, Ali was making the point, you've got to kill them not once but twice. You dominate 2 legs, especially in this first half. Son is running ragged over Barzagli. Kane is getting the better of Chiellini almost every single time he runs at him. Yet you're going at the break 1-0 up. A lot of close chances, but Juventus are still in the game. And then all of a sudden, a little shift of formation. Asamoah comes up the left, Douglas Costa switches to the right, the front 2 get closer, and you can't cope. And in 5 minutes, that tie is dead. And you know, you give Juventus a lead with 20 minutes to go in the game, you're not going to get back in the game.
Now, here's the thing. That first goal happened for Juventus, right? They score, and you could sense it. We're watching it. You can sense it. Miles away, the Spurs were like, uh-oh. Uh-oh, wait a minute. Wait a second. Are we going to come up short? How are we tying this game right now? We've been so much better than they have. We have been the better team. We have created opportunities. And while you're thinking that, Juventus is going the other way and scoring the game winner. It gives you a sense of how there is a difference between the teams that pretend, that want to get to a certain level, and the teams that are squarely parked on that level, that live in that sort of category. Real Madrid, Juventus, these teams that historically have been successful, you not only do you have to kill them, not only do you have to run them over, you have to be able that on the day, in key moments of the game, recognize that those are the moments that you have to be better than them. Not over 60 minutes, but over 90 minutes. And you don't do it, you're out. And you're asking yourself, how did this happen? How did this happen? You got Juventus.
Do you know, they didn't. One thing for me is, right, as Ali said, the goal went in from Higuain. And you got to be, from a Spurs perspective, that's the warning signs. But they just ploughed on. They just ploughed on doing the same thing, which is fine, it was pretty. But maybe, in hindsight, now looking back, because they're still through at that point. They've got the 2 away goals, so they're still through. Maybe just take a breath, take a step back, organise and say, all right, let them come on to us for a little bit, and then we'll try and hit them on the counter. But they just left themselves too
I think, and that's the thing. When you talk about these clubs with European history and the difference between a Juventus and a Spurs in this competition, Spurs concede the goal from Juventus, and there's a change in not just on the park. It goes quiet in the stands, and it translates itself onto what's happening on the field for the 11 players. They get nervous, they're unsure, and then before you know it, as I mentioned, the second goes in, and good night, Tottenham Hotspur.
And as much as we mock him and talk about his weight and question, you know, his...
Well, I don't know who's talking
his
about
diet, Gonzalo Higuain. You know, this is why, you know, he is a world-class striker.
Yeah, he hadn't appeared whatsoever throughout the course of the match. And really, none of the Juventus attacking players really had appeared. But in a moment in which you needed your number 9 to score a goal, he scores a goal, gives you hope, and then hold-up play, gives you something different. The ability to move away from the ball, recognize where he has to hold up the play, where the pass needs to go, and then to play the pass that he did, and then Dybala scores, and you're like, wait a minute, how are they winning? Well, that's because they have players in key positions that if you don't pay attention, they kill you. That's what they do.
Let's bring Gab Marcotti into the conversation. Gab, what do you make of what the boys are saying?
I mean, I agree about Spurs having the better of it over 180 minutes. I would modulate that, though, with the fact that certainly in the first leg, even when they were having the better of it, they conceded that chance that Higuain really should have buried, and they conceded that late penalty. And I think that's one of the issues with Tottenham, is that, you know, right now there are players out there, maybe it's inexperience, maybe some of them aren't good enough, maybe some of them are Davinson Sanchez and Aurier, and who do silly things that lead you to mistakes, and Juve are the kind of side that punish mistakes, and I think having some of this lack of experience also translates into something else. When Allegri made that change, which was hugely counterintuitive, right, sending on Lichtsteiner and Asamoah in that game, I was saying to myself, right, what's Pochettino going to do now? What are Spurs going to do? And as you guys pointed out, they did very little, not because Pochettino didn't realize that the game had changed, but because I think he felt that there was very little he could do, because these players don't necessarily have the experience, they don't necessarily have the tactical nous to make those adjustments on the fly. And, you know, ultimately, that's been the secret of Juventus under Allegri. They're like one of those awful viruses that mutates and you can't ever shake. And that's why in the past 3 years, they've knocked out the likes of Borussia Dortmund and Real Madrid and Barcelona, and you know, only succumbed to Bayern with the last-minute goal. You know, there's a reason for this, is that they're always there. They never go away, and they punish you.
He's won 3 titles and he's been to 2 Champions League finals, Allegri, and people were calling for his head and not too long ago. And he's been awful and they're awful, but for a team that's so-called awful, they don't have to get some results. I mean, Spurs, lots of Spurs players played really well in the 2 games. I mean, really well, right? If you look at Dembele and Eriksen, and Son was lively today, I mean, but they're out. Now, Chiellini in his press conference has killed them. I mean, some might say he's killed them on the park, but he's killed them in his press conference after the game, talking to the media. He's saying, this is Tottenham. They do lots of nice things, but they never get to the end. And that's going to be the big question now coming up. They are still in the FA Cup. They've got the top 4 to go for. They've got a new stadium to move into at some point next year. But he's saying they don't have the mental strength, and some might say it's inexperience. He calls it mental strength and fortitude to get to the end result. And that, ultimately, might be the difference for Spurs down the line, because people are going to say, Harry Kane, is he going to stay? Christian Eriksen is going to stay. When are you going to start winning trophies? Football's nice, football's pretty. End product.
The level of success that a team like Juventus has achieved, or Real Madrid has achieved, allows you as a player to have within your blood that confidence that we're not out of it. We're never out. It gives you that sense of character and personality that a team like Spurs doesn't have in their history, doesn't have in terms of success. And so when you're Chiellini and you know how to close out a game and you know that you're always in it, it's because you have had a history of doing it time and time again. Whereas Spurs, the moment that first goal went in by Juventus, you could see those shirts getting tight. You could see that now they're not playing nearly as freely as they were before. You could see that they were sensing, oh boy, are we really going to blow this? And they certainly did.
Don't want Juve in the next round, do you?
Not really. Well, I mean, in saying that, they aren't playing fantastic, and they've been very similar at times in Serie A. But they're getting results, and I just don't think they're as good as they were a year or two ago when we saw them in the Champions League final. Well, we saw them last year in the Champions League final, and we saw them against Barcelona recently in the Champions League final. I don't think they're at that level, but they can still be a nail and a thorn in your side.
Hello, welcome to Extra Time. It is snowing here. A lot.
Yep.
100% or 90?
100%.
Or 80?
According to your app.
100%.
Proper snow. We're all driving home, apart from Shaka, getting a hotel.
Oh, big time.
What's your plan tonight, Shaq?
Get to bed early. I'm tired.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, hey,
No, every single one of us was at the gym at the same time today, which I don't think we've ever had before. Like an FC
reunion.
I know. Shaka was the most interesting thing.
Why is that? Why? Why is that?
I mean, you did sit in the locker for a while after the workout.
Well, I was tired. I expended a lot of energy.
You certainly did, Shaq.
We've only got one guy to convince now.
What, Stevie?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, no.
You're going to get Stevie to the gym?
Sat at home at the moment, probably. Tucked up in a Yorkshire pudding.
Literally.
Ice cream on top of it, cherries, everything.
Hey,
Mars
but with
bars,
peaches, with
chocolate.
peaches. Oh, goodness. We'll have peaches, some fruit.
Is that going to happen?
No, we know it's not. Let's start with some love. Ali, hype for the show. Only want to pick Juventus yesterday.
Hey!
Using the word Juventus as well in the process.
Yes, and Spurs are probably sitting at home now, a couple hours after the game, and thinking, how?
Yeah.
How did we lose this? Well, you got Juventus, that's how.
You got both wrong, haven't you, so?
Correct.
Who was to blame?
Whoa. Listen, I've
that?
always got one up my sleeve.
Oh, what's that? Is it end of an era?
Correct. Pre-season, Barcelona, it must have been a 10-minute segment on Barcelona being finished. So, just said,
Oh, dear.
just calm down.
Who is to blame for Tottenham's exit for the Champions League? Who do you blame?
Everybody.
Everyone? Shaq?
Pochettino. I don't think he was able to cope with Juventus changing formation. Simple as that.
Should we ask Gab?
Yeah, ask Gab.
Gab, who do you blame?
You know he's not going to blame Pochettino.
He loves Pochettino. And he loves Lamella.
Yeah?
I'm gonna blame Juventus in the same way that we just saw this. We just saw this on Saturday. Lazio against Juventus. Juventus don't take a single shot on target. It's going to be a dour, horrendous 0-0 game, and then freaking Paulo Dybala conjures up this thing out of nothing where he's literally vertical to the horizontal to the ground, and he manages to go and beat the keeper from there. When you can, when you've got the ability to stay in the game like that, and you can conjure things up out of nothing, you're going to be tough. And I'll tell you another thing about Juve, which I mean, more seriously, I think is actually a significant factor. Something I didn't really buy into in the past because it doesn't make sense to me, but I'm starting to believe now is that having players who have been there and done that and won things actually makes quite a big difference. Higuain has played in a World Cup final. Not particularly well, but he was there. Sami Khedira has obviously been there. Obviously Chiellini, Barzagli have been at a high level, Buffon. All these things put together, I think, matter in a game like that relative to the Spurs players who, I think to a man, other than some dud trophies in Holland, I don't think have ever won anything or ever really experienced much success with their national sides either.
I'm glad.
Like Gab's having an epiphany.
I'm glad Gab came to the conclusion that experience matters.
Well, there we are. What ramifications would another trophyless season have for Spurs? Are they in danger of losing Kane, Eriksen, Alderweireld?
I don't think it have any ramifications right now. But if they didn't get in the Champions League via the top four next year, and then if next year wasn't going so well. I mean, it could snowball quite quickly. I mean, certainly not going to sack the manager. That's just not going to happen.
Shaka, let's be honest. Long-suffering
I'll
Spurs
try.
fan here. Spurs were never going to win the Champions League this season. Could the result actually be a blessing in disguise with regards to finishing in the top 4 and lifting the FA Cup?
That's one way to look at it.
I've never bought into this losing a game is a blessing. I've never bought into that. Okay, now you try to make the most of it. Granted that you're out and you try to focus on the top 4, but you prefer to still be in. Before this game kicked off, you would prefer to still be in the competition regardless. So, no, I'm not going on that road.
If this is how you approach this level of competition, it's an explanation as to why your team is out. If this is how you look at it, that it's a blessing to lose, go home, turn off the lights, the game is gone.
There we go. We are gone.
Oh, yeah.
Who's turning off the lights?
Snow.
You are.
Ow.
You're the last one here, Shaq.
You never seen him so excited?
What?
Going to the hotel.
I know, look at him.
Why am I excited?
I don't know.
No,
I'm not excited. This is how I am.
He's bubbling
He's
about.
definitely bubbling about.
He is. He's definitely just. There's something. I don't know what it is.
I can't pinpoint it.
Can't pinpoint it exactly, but he's hyper.
Freedom. That's what he said, freedom.
Freedom.
You were tweeting about The Bachelor last night. Let's talk about that.
Hey, listen. Don't
Deflect.
deflect. I couldn't think of the word.
Deflect from the Bachelor.
Don't deflect, right? And don't. He just said to us earlier. He just said to us about a couple of minutes ago. He was having an early night tonight.
I am.
Don't believe that. That's what it'll tell me to say stop.
Yeah.
Be old. I'm going to turn my phone off. I don't want it waking me
Yeah,
up.
my battery's gone.
Yeah. I didn't bring a charger.
What's that noise in the background? Oh, it's just
We can FaceTime.